Welcome to the Shit They Do Not Tell You About podcast.
Hello, welcome back to Shit They Don't Tell You.
And today is indeed a very special episode.
I'm your host, Nikki Limo.
Hello, Iceman. We have with us today, also Crypto King. Also, we have with us today the fourth place winner of the what event?
Of the WSOP $600 deep stack event.
$600 deep stack event from the World Series of Poker.
Event number 11. It was a bracelet event.
So if she won, so she's 3 away. If she had won and gotten the bracelet, she's in the Hall of Fame of poker.
Who is this special guest?
Oh, It's you. I'm sorry. It's you.
Hi.
Sorry. Nobody's calling in. Yeah.
Me.
It's Nikki.
Hello.
So this has been probably one of the funnier things that I've been involved with in my life because everyone who doesn't really know Nikki that well, and all I mean by that is like they know Nikki socially, they know Nikki, right? But I know Nikki like I'm on the inside of the house, dude.
Did I spread my lipstick all up my nose?
No, you're good.
Okay, cool. Continue.
I know Nikki because I'm on the inside of the house. I live with her every day. I experience whatever the fuck she's doing every day. Watching you become like a poker icon has been one of the funnier things of my life.
Yeah, I don't quite think of myself as a poker icon, but that's really funny.
I know you don't, but I'm honestly just saying what I've heard other people say about you since this has happened. So I'm not even trying to gas you up. It's just funny to me that like you have inspired a bunch of women, especially, to like want to play poker because they thought that they couldn't before. There was some kind of
That's true.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of, especially women directed. Some guys too, but like a lot of women who just weren't even interested in the game before, which is cool.
Yeah, so we're gonna, so that aside, right? I just want to really establish too, like qualify you.
Yeah.
She beat out 5,700 people to make it to top 4. That's
5,715.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
that's
a
not
lot
easy
of people
to do.
There were a lot of bracelet winners playing too, like multiple bracelet winners.
Oh, and coaches, people who teach the game.
Yeah.
It's and that by the way, there's a lot of variance in the game, of course.
A ton of variance.
But the fact that this is your first World Series of Poker game that you played.
Yeah.
And that you final tabled and you placed 4th is wild. It has
for a 6-figure win.
To speak for you, the poker community is talking about Nikki right now, which is fucking hysterical.
Well, what is funny is that we always say to choose the funniest option. Like,
always.
Even if it's at our
philosophy.
Even if it's at our detriment.
Yes.
It's still the funniest choice has to win.
I have to.
And so before this particular tournament, I remember going to you and I was kind of scared because there's a lot of variance in tournament, like Steve said. And I had previously 3 weeks before won my first 5-figure win, which was I got second place in a $100 buy-in tournament at MGM Grand. And that was really fun, especially since I was...
Out of how many people?
I was 550 people. Yeah. So that was the biggest live
you got second place.
that I had played before. And that one was special because I was in first when we were going to vote on a chop. And I don't know, there's some chopping drama that happened. But anyway, ended up being second.
People don't know what that is. It means split the pot, but yeah.
Yeah, split the winnings. And there's ICM. It's the whole thing. But yeah.
The idea is split the winnings up.
Yeah,
evenly.
More evenly than it would be if you continued to play towards a winner. That way, everyone was guaranteed a 5-figure win. There were 4 left when we decided to chop. But anyway,
I'm here to translate for you, the people. By the way,
I had won that one.
Yeah,
and then I had lost the next 3 in the most infuriating way, where I was on the bubble, which means like you're a few people away from making any sort of profit in the tournament. And it takes hours to get to this bubble.
How many hours?
Period. So like I always late reg, so it took me like 3 hours, but since the beginning of the tournament, it's like 6 hours. So people have been playing for 6 hours, getting down to the bubble of when you actually will profit or make any sort of money off of this tournament. And I busted like 2 away from the money 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
So I was getting very like down on myself, even though a lot has to do with variance. You do start to question. You're like, do I really know how to play? Was it just luck? I had only played, I've only so far played 20 live tournaments in my life, and I final tabled 5 of them, won 2 of them, and final tabled 5 of them, which is that's 25% in the money range, which is a really good statistic. But you still, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I struggle with imposter syndrome. I still was like, I don't know if I know how to play, and I don't know if I'm just gonna set $600 on fire today. But I did just win 5 figures, so I planned on playing these little small buy-ins at
Gave you a lot of
WSOP.
ability to do that.
Yeah,
A lot of
exactly. I
flexibility.
had said, you know what, I'm saving $3,000 of this to just enter these little side events at the WSOP just for funsies, like to say that I played at the WSOP. And that was the whole reason I decided to study tournaments in the first place, was just because I was a cash games player before, and didn't really understand tournament strategy, but I was like, you know what? It's an opportunity to learn. So this year I was like, I just want to learn enough tournament strategy to be confident to play a side event game at the WSOP, like one of the little small buy-ins. Like I'm talking under $1,000. 600 was so far the biggest buy-in that I had done. And so, I was getting really sad, but I was still gonna do it. And I went to Steve and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And Steve's like, okay, just think about how funny it would be if you went all the way to the final table in this huge field and people started to know you from poker and not from YouTube. And I thought that was
verbatim.
That was all. I thought that was hilarious.
Yes.
And I was like, that would be so fun. I can't imagine that, but also that would be the funniest option. So it has to happen.
Exactly.
And I didn't play being like, I got to make it to final table. I just played my game, but it relaxed me enough to be able to be present in playing and just like having fun. I don't win if I'm not having fun.
Dude, anytime that you and I both in anything take ourselves too seriously,
Yeah.
it's a disaster.
It's a recipe for
It's a
disaster.
Like injecting the fun back into it
Yeah.
and keeping it there.
You have to have fun.
It's everything. It's everything.
Absolutely.
So yeah, okay, so let's rewind a lot, right? Not now, not to brag again for you, but for most people, we'd have to rewind quite a bit because Nikki made it to the World Series of Poker, fucking placed 4th, which is crazy. Okay, out of 5,715 people. But for Nikki, we're going to have to just rewind a year because that's about as long as she's been playing poker, like seriously.
Seriously.
Which is hilarious.
I've been playing
Again,
poker since I was a kid, but seriously, yeah.
It's a totally different game.
Yeah, totally different.
Totally different game. You're playing pros. You're not playing like
I'm not going
in a backyard.
for a weekend in Vegas.
Right.
Or, yeah.
Like your grandma's not like, hey, Nikki, like you want some
Potato
food
salad.
right now?
Yeah.
Like nothing's being interrupted. You are in an environment where if somebody was to interrupt, they get thrown out by security. So you know what I mean? It's just a different thing.
Yeah. I actually got penalized at a point in the tournament because I went to the bathroom too much.
Yeah. See, there you go. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
So we're going back a year. This is I remember specifically taking you to the Commerce Casino. You asked me to accompany you.
Yes.
Obviously, that was an easy yes because, if you walk out of the Commerce with money and you go to the parking lot, it could be scary because it's LA and there's like broken parking lights and shit out there.
Yeah, I actually know several people or have met several people that have gotten robbed at gunpoint at the Commerce. So.
Exactly. So and there's a vibe at the Commerce, especially as the night sets in.
I love
right?
that place.
I do too. I actually do too. And I know
So seedy.
it's really seedy. It's like a dive bar, but it's a casino. And it's honestly, by the way, the bar staff is fucking hilarious too. I love those people. They're great. I know them by name now because I was accompanying you so much to this place.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're going down there and you're very, very, very intimidated because you're playing like locals. And like these locals play the game for real and
Like,
this
as
is
a
what
job.
they do as a job. Yeah.
And it was my first time really playing a cash game against people I don't know.
Yes. And even registering. I remember we got the cards together at the Commerce.
The
it was
Players
like
Club.
Players Club
Because
card
you have to get a Players Club to play. Yeah.
So yeah, I remember doing that. And then we got you in there. And like I said, this is like a year ago. This is like what, 12, 13 months ago?
Yeah.
Max. So yeah. And then you sit down and then tell me how that goes for you.
I was practicing on a Play Money app all the whole drive there, just to get in.
And you've been doing this during
zone.
COVID.
Yeah, I actually studied for like 4 or 5 months without spending any money, like studying GTO and reading a lot of books and playing with a simulator.
What's GTO?
Game theory optimization. It's like the like it trains you to make the like they studied this game long enough that computers have found like the most statistically profitable ways to play the game, like what moves are, they're called EV plus, like your positive expected value, and which aren't, which makes poker profitable in the long run if you're continuously making EV plus decisions. And that,
there's variance involved.
Yeah, and that is what interested me, because it's what sets it apart from all other types of gambling, which it's kind of tilting that they put poker in the umbrella of all the gambling, like penny slot machines, everything's in the same gambling category. Yeah, when poker is actually a more complex game than chess. It has not been solved. Like chess has been solved.
You're talking about Deep Blue, the IBM AI that was able to beat. There is a
perfect way to play chess.
Yeah, they were able to beat Gary Kasparov, who was the greatest
Computers
chess
can beat
champion.
humans at chess.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They have not been able to solve No Limit Texas Hold'em. I think they've been able to solve Limit Texas Hold'em, but they have not been able, computers cannot beat every human at No Limit Texas Hold'em.
Because there's so much variance.
There's so much variance. There's the human element of like a computer can't understand why someone would go all in on a certain move.
Computer doesn't understand Steve Green theory.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or EV negative decisions.
So all it can do is tell you the most profitable ways to play. But that's what interested me, is that how can there be a gambling game where people have made an entire profession out of it and consistently been profitable? Why is it always the same people going to final table at these big tournaments when there's so much variance? Why do we keep saying the same names over and over again? And that really interested me, because in my head, I love poker. I love a challenge. I love games. I love puzzles. I love that this game is all about psychology and math. It combines like everything I love about every game ever. And there's a way that you can study enough to be profitable in the long run. And I just thought, if other people in the world can do that, and I feel like I'm pretty strong in those categories of study, that I think I could do that too. And previously, I had won several tournaments at like home games, like our fantasy football league and stuff.
You wrecked those guys.
Pure intuition. I didn't know GTO. I just was going off of my gut instinct, how I read people, and like, having decent cards. Like, back then I probably thought like King 5 offsuit was an okay hand, but I still played the player and was able to read people. And I think that gave me a little bit of an edge in the study too.
You're also extremely competitive.
Extremely. You think?
A little bit, just a little bit.
A little bit.
I mean, we both are, but like it's been entertaining to see you take that into a productive place, because you're on JK Party and then people are giving you hell because you're so fucking competitive, and everyone's like, can she just fucking chill and play a game?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, she can't actually. She has to win.
Actually, one year we me and my best friend played mini golf, and I was so fucking mad that we were playing in a group of 3, and the other 2 people were beating me by so much that I threw my ball in the lake, and she saved the golf score and made a Christmas ornament out of it.
That's hilarious.
And that's how I pick my friends.
I love it. But that's what I'm saying,
yeah,
right?
I was so mad.
The competitive spirit that you have, you found a place where you can use all of it, and it's super entertaining.
It's rewarding. And you can make money from it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was studying for like 4 or 5 months, like playing on simulations. It was like a kind of my go-to to de-stress, if that makes any sense. My therapist thought that was weird because it's actually a really stressful game, but it's less stressful than what was going on in my life.
Fair.
So, and it took up all of my attention, which I could just pass hours and hours of time and get sucked into like how to get better at this game. And so we're driving to Commerce, and it's the first time that I'm actually going to play real people with real money in a real game where no one knows who I am. And it's very intimidating. But I just told myself to pretend that I'm playing the simulation, fold the hands that I would normally fold, do the game the way I would normally do it in the simulation, and see what happens.
Yep.
And I had to adjust really quickly, because in the simulations, every time in the simulations when you're practicing, it gets to heads up, which is the most ideal way to play poker. You would like to raise enough pre-flop to isolate it down to just 1, maybe 2 other players when you have the best hand. Otherwise, just any 2 live cards can suck out on you. So
suck out means what?
Means like they played a worse hand than you, and they got really lucky on
because of the river.
Yeah, or the turn or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, they could like suck out with like they could have it's 7 deuce and there's 2 7s on the board, you know, like something like that. So
The
you're
hell's 7 deuce.
7-2.
Okay, perfect.
There you
Fucking
go.
poker asshole.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm not even trying.
I know you're not, but I'm just saying like this is part of your vernacular now. I'm just trying to help translate it to people who are listening.
Most people know a deuce is a 2, right?
No. But the way that you put it, it's like
Okay.
7 deuce. It could be like sometimes we'll get there. Trust me, you're gonna say a
Okay.
lot of stuff. But it's like when
Sorry.
I'm hanging out with my brothers who are in the military, and I'm like, yo guys, what the fuck
This
are you
is like
talking
you
about?
talking about crypto, honestly.
I get it. It's fine.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
So, what I learned is at the Commerce Casino, everybody likes to play every hand. So
Yeah.
you raise the correct amount, which is way too small for the Commerce Casino, and everybody will call. If people limp and you raise them, they will still call. You cannot, it's very hard to isolate people unless you raise large, and they have a really small cap to their buy-in. So
And this is just cash games, by the way.
yeah, this is just cash
Not tournament
games.
style.
No, just cash. I started off just cash, and you can only buy in for $200 at the 3-5 game. And yes, I started at 3-5. I didn't know that I should start at a smaller stakes. I just had been playing 3-5 on the simulation, and I had been watching vloggers play 2-5. So those were the stakes that I thought were normal. So that's why I started there. And anyway, these guys are like regular, like they make their living off of grinding poker, and I sat there for would you say like 3 or 4 hours?
4 hours, definitely.
Maybe 4 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, my outfit, I was wearing like a skin tight tank top and tiny white shorts because we had just come from your family. It was like
Yeah. We driving up from San Diego.
I didn't think about it.
She likes to dress sexy for my family.
I was well, it wasn't like sexy. It was covering, but it was like definitely very risque for a poker room.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely felt a lot of people looking at me.
They were. I was walking through there with you. It was hilarious.
That was also intimidating.
There's a lot of faces and masks and eyes just going like.
Oh yeah, because you had to wear masks back then.
yeah.
And I went and sat down with $200, and I walked away with $260.
Yeah.
So I made a $60 profit.
That's right.
Which I felt very accomplished by.
Absolutely.
I was like, hey, I went in there looking to play my best game, and I think I did that. I played to the best of my abilities. I was very stoked.
You came and you like smacked me on the back. I was sitting at the bar and you're like, yes.
This guy shoved on me when I flopped the nut flush.
Excuse me, what the fuck is that? What does that
Sorry.
mean?
I had ace king suited.
Okay.
Diamonds.
When it's the nut, what does that mean?
That means like the top of the top flush. So I had the ace of diamonds and the king of diamonds.
Okay.
So I had ace.
So what the board is showing you, you had the best possible pair for that.
Yes.
Okay.
I had the best possible
the
2
nut.
cards.
That's the nuts.
It wasn't a pair. It was a flush.
Okay.
Which is way better than a pair.
Okay.
So I had ace king suited. But like I said, everyone likes to play every hand. And a guy called me from the blinds, which the blinds it's like the person that has to put money in. Like, so it's, you get kind of like a discounted rate to call because you already have money in the pot. So you can play with worse hands. Anyway, so the flop comes all diamonds. I have ace king of diamonds and I check. Or no, he's in the blinds, so he checks to me. So I bet
The fact that you remember this hand from a year plus ago is why people underestimate you.
So yeah, because it was an exciting day.
I know. But
so he checks to me, I check it back because I have the best possible hand.
Yeah.
So I don't want him to know, like I don't want to play my cards face up. I want to look scared, like I don't like this, but not too scared that it looks like I'm Hollywooding it. So I checked it back, like I took a second and then I checked it back. And then he shoves all in on the turn. So I snap called. At this point, I didn't really know the rules either. I had more money in my pocket, and I was asking if I could put more money out. They're
Oh my
like,
God.
no, you can't do that.
that's hilarious.
I was like, but I have more money.
I have more, just so everybody knows.
Because he had more money chips than me. So I thought that if he made an all-in move, I had to match that.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so
I would think that.
but you don't.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, I got his money. I got all of his monies.
That's really nice.
And it was really, it felt
So you
really
were down
good.
significantly then?
No, I wasn't down significantly.
Oh, well, because you said you put down 200, you walked away from 265.
Yeah.
So So
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you were down.
I had gone up and down. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I had gone up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense because there's variance in the game. But yeah, no, when you walked away, you were very, very thrilled. And then that sort of began what I can only call a love affair.
I want to talk about TrueBill. Can we?
Yeah.
Okay, because let me just say they saved us a lot of money recently.
Agreed.
There were a lot of things that we subscribed for during the pandemic that I forgot that we subscribed for, that I'm like, oh, I need to cancel that, but I always would forget. And I'm like, what's my login? I forget my login
Or even
info.
after football season, I always forget to cancel all the stuff that I used to watch football in different places.
Yeah, it's like you have these subscriptions just for that temporary period of time for that specific need. Like when we all got HBO to watch Game of Thrones, and then Game of Thrones was over, and we're like, okay, well, now we don't need HBO, but like we still have it by accident.
Too bad we didn't lose it during the last season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, exactly.
But on average, people save up to $720 a year with TrueBill.
That's a lot.
Yeah, well, it's because companies, it's part of their subscription model to keep you in the loop, right? And not really knowing that they're charging you every month.
Yeah, it's
for it.
like gyms. They're like, hey, it's this low price, and like you're totally going to use it all the time. What a deal. And then you like are really lazy and you never go, and then they count on that. They count on that.
They count on it. They love it. It
They
subsidizes
hate you.
their business.
They want your money.
Yep. TrueBill has over 2 million users and has helped them save over $100 million.
Like Matthew B., who says, in a matter of seconds, I saved $660 for the year on my DirecTV bill, saved $120 for the year on my Sirius XM bill, and saved $840 a year on car insurance. So don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/STDTY.
Go right now, truebill.com/STDTY. It could save you thousands a year.
Thousands.
Truebill.com/STDTY.
That's not pennies. That's a lot of money.
Truebill.com/STDTY. It could save you thousands a year.
Shout out to our sponsor today, Talkspace. We talk a lot about seeing a professional for help when you are going through something, whether it's trauma related, whether it's breakup related, whether you lost somebody in your life, whether you're going through depression, anxiety, panic attacks, whatever the case may be. Talking to a professional is always helpful. I even recommend it to people who maybe don't think that they're going through anything, just to kind of get to know yourself better and understand yourself on a deeper level. It can only help you. The only thing is that professional help is sometimes very costly and expensive. That's where Talkspace comes in. There are so many benefits to Talkspace. One being that it's very affordable. The cost of the monthly subscription is less than usually like 1 hour-long visit, if a typical hour-long visit.
Yeah, it's not as awkward either.
counselor.
Like you can send and receive unlimited messages with your dedicated therapist in the Talkspace platform 24/7.
Yeah, and these are all licensed professionals. These aren't just like general counselors. These are licensed professionals in a variety of different fields.
And they are the #1 online therapy platform that has thousands of licensed therapists trained in over 40 specialties, including anxiety, depression, relationships, and more. They can help you set and achieve your goals even.
And it's secure and it's private, and they're using the latest end-to-end bank-grade encryption technology to store your client information, and they comply with the latest HIPAA regulations. So, as a listener of this podcast, you will get $100 off your first month with Talkspace. That's a lot of doll hairs. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and make sure to use the code STDTY to get $100 off your first month and show your support for the show.
That's STDTY and Talkspace.com. It was fascinating to watch you just get super interested in the game. Like super, like, again, and people, look, until she stacked this win, you could argue it's like, Nikki's just a gambler and all shit. That's not what was going on. Nikki was like super obsessed with the game and studious, and just careful about everything you were doing. It's kind of like what people try to say about me with poker or with crypto. It's like, oh, you're just a degenerate gambler. It's like, dude, I'm very careful about my shit. I've only ever tried to do things carefully by managing risk.
I was actually probably too careful in the beginning. I was really exploitable because I was very tight.
Yeah, and other players can seize on that, right?
Yeah, so they were 3-betting me every pre-flop, like... Well, 3-betting means they raised me like I open, and then every single time someone's going to raise me.
And that happens sometimes because you're a chick too.
Sure, yeah. And I was folding like most of the time, so it was very profitable for them to do that. And that's why it's exploitative. They could basically raise me with any 2 cards, and I probably fold unless I have the top 5% of hands. And then in that case, they know that I have those hands, so they're going to play way more slow on the flop.
Yes.
And so I had to learn really quickly about exploitable my exploits, my leaks, the things that I was doing. I didn't know about certain strategies that were common, like c-betting. A c-betting is a standard bet that you make after the flop comes. If you opened the pre-flop, if you were the first person to put a bet in and someone called you, no matter what flop comes out, as long as it's not like all diamonds like that one flop, but like usually you make a small c-bet to basically say my hand is still strong.
Okay.
And like that's pretty
What's
standard.
The C behind it? It's like
continuation bet.
Okay.
Yeah, continuation
like,
bet.
Hey, see, I got this shit.
I mean, and the game changes all the time. So like, I guess years ago people weren't really c-betting, and so then c-betting was really popular because they thought like, oh, they would only bet if they have it. So they were folding a lot, and you get a lot of fold equity for that. And then later, everyone kind of caught on that people were just c-betting every flop. So then everybody was calling every flop and c-betting every flop. And then people started learning about board textures and what boards are better to c-bet and what aren't. So
well, that's math to everybody else, including myself.
Yeah.
Like I said, and I've said this many times before, I don't really understand the game of poker. I only understand what you've taught me about the game of poker.
And there's so much to learn all the time.
So I understand more of the terminology that you have going on under the hood. But as far as the game itself, if I'm playing, I don't fucking know what's going on.
I think it's so funny when you play. Because people always ask me, like, does your husband play? And I'm like, I've tried to teach him.
Bro,
but,
I don't know the fucking game.
Yeah.
I'm just not that interested.
Yeah, I know. You're not interested. And that's fair.
Yeah. But I'm interested in when you play it and when you tell me about it. But the idea of me sitting down and playing it, unless I have some kind of advantage on the game, I don't want to play it.
Absolutely. And you shouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't want to play a game where I felt like I didn't have it. I'm not out there playing football.
Exactly.
You know, because I know I probably would not excel at it.
Well, I'm dressed like I should know how to excel at it, but I definitely can't. So there you go.
You're also dressed like you know how to excel at eating wings at Hooters.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's kind of what I'm going for.
Yeah, you're getting that to be that age. So
I think so. I think I should have some moist towelettes in a fanny pack.
Hey, what's wrong with fanny packs?
I know. Okay, so now we're going to fast forward a little bit. So you've been playing at the Commerce. We ended up going to...
I gave myself $1,000 budget. By the way, like, because people are like, how much money have you lost, though? Actually, none.
Yeah, none.
I gave myself $1,000 budget in the beginning, and I told myself, hey, if you're playing well, I'll give you $500 extra a month. Like, if you go through this $1,000... you're not allowed to play again until next month, and I'll give you 500. Like, that's what I'm telling myself. And it never went below 1,000. I've never added to that 1,000.
This is me and Nikki's philosophy too. Like, it's funny because, like, again, people think that like we put shit tons of money into crypto, same shit. But it's like, no, it's like if you're good at it, it'll pay off. Like,
it'll pay for itself.
Why do you need to put a fuck ton of money into it? Like, if you're so good at it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Like sometimes I'd skim from the profits and buy a poker book because I feel like that's reinvesting.
Yeah.
And I'd buy it and I'd learn more strategies. I'd apply those strategies. I'd profit more.
I'd say it paid off.
When I learned tournament strategy, I waited until I won my first online tournament. I won for $1,200, and then I used that to pay for poker coaching for tournament strategies. And then I won the very next tournament after I hired my coach for $2,500, and so it immediately paid for itself.
Yep.
And I just view any new endeavor like that.
We both do.
Yeah.
And by the way, there was no conversation ever where it's
I have a bankroll tracker too.
Yep. But there was no conversation ever where it's like, should I do this?
Yeah.
And I'm ever like, no. It was just very much like, yo, let's fucking go. Good for you. Go win. I believe in you.
And if I'm sinking money every single month, I'm not going to keep wanting to play either. So it doesn't. I kind of just wanted to see where it would go. And so I gave myself this $1,000 budget, and I was like, wouldn't it be dope if I made $10,000 by next year? You know, it's slightly less than $1,000 a month. Like, I think that's very reasonable, doable.
You ended up doing that 9 days before you hit the 6 figs.
I did. Yeah. No, I hit 12 G's in April.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. But that was like late April.
Yeah. Early April.
April.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But awesome. But okay. So now, we go to this poker thing at the Ace. At the Ace.
Bicycle? No,
at the Ace Hotel.
There's no Ace Hotel.
Or what the hell is it called?
The Hustler?
The Hustler.
Okay.
The Hustler. We go to this thing with the Hustler, and Brad Owen's there. He's like a poker vlogger.
Okay, so I was watching a lot of poker vloggers,
Yes.
especially Brad Owen and Mariano, on my treadmill every day. So I had my treadmill because in LA, it was a pandemic, and also it just wasn't nice walking around our neighborhood anymore. It was in combination with the weather and the crime rate, I just didn't feel like walking around our neighborhood anymore. So I'm on my treadmill and I have a TV set up and I'm watching vloggers every time. And it's a great thing to watch when you're on the treadmill because it's almost exactly 30-minute videos. So it's the perfect amount of time to walk. And I had been watching Brad and he was like, I'm doing a meetup in LA. And I'm like, oh, I'm in LA. Let's fucking do it. Instead of going to Commerce, let's go to the Hustler this time. And so, yeah, we went to the Hustler.
Not to brag, but I did show Nikki Brad Owen before she started to take poker a little more seriously. But yeah, because I remember watching his stuff and just when you hear somebody who's passionate about something, talking about something you don't even understand, it's still interesting to me. I always have enjoyed that, like as just a watcher of many things. And
I had just been learning all of the positions, the terms, like all that stuff when you introduced me to those videos. So hearing him, run through the hands and like, it got me very used to the language that everyone uses. It's not even, sometimes people are like, you're using the language like you want to like impress. And like, no, that's really how people talk.
That's how they communicate.
It's just really, it's easier to describe hands that way. It's just easier to go through hand histories with other people that play.
It's a shorthand.
It's shorthand,
yeah. But people don't know that.
And it makes a difference too. Yeah. When I say I raise from under the gun, it makes a way bigger difference than if I raise from the button. That's a huge difference. Right. So if I'm explaining a hand to somebody and I say I opened Jack 10, if I like, that's a terrible hand to open from under the gun, but it's a great hand to open from the button.
Explain under the gun.
Under the gun is the first person to act when you're starting a hand. So like all the cards get dealt and the first person to decide whether or not they want to put money in the middle of the pot after the blinds, because those people have to, is under the gun. So your range for the cards that you should be playing from that position should be like the top percent of hands. Okay. Like the very, very top. Because
otherwise you fold.
Yeah, otherwise you fold. Okay. Because there's so many people left to act behind you that if you try to open with a mediocre hand, you're probably going to get crushed.
Yeah, you better wreck it. You better bring it.
There's someone that's going to wake up with a hand after you. There's just a bigger chance of that happening. There's a way bigger chance of you not having the best hand. Okay. So you want your range to be really tight from under the gun. Whereas by the time it gets down to the button is like the last person before the people who already have money in the middle. Those are the blinds. The button can open with a wider range of hands because there's only two more people left to act. And do you want to play a hand?
Makes sense.
Or they fold and you get the money that they already put in the middle.
So we go there and it was cool. Everyone was really cool. Everyone was cool.
Yeah.
Brad's cool. And then also, what's his name?
Andrew Nemi.
Escapes me. Yeah, thank you. Andrew. I just saw him like last week.
Sorry, I love Andrew.
He's the best. But yeah, so he was there and I don't know. It was really cool to see you kind of your first touch with being embraced by a greater poker community.
Yeah.
And so it was very early YouTube feeling, like, because we both came up in early YouTube when like everyone was just like barely making money off of it.
It feels exactly like early YouTube.
Yeah. And it was cool to see that on the inside. And it felt very much like that because everyone was gathering together at an event.
Yeah.
And most people who are at this casino or at the Hustler, they're just like, what the fuck is all these assholes doing with cameras out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It felt like early YouTube in that same way.
Yep.
It's like there's a reason why. It's like,
this was the first YouTuber meetup I went to where I wasn't part of the meetup.
Yeah, for sure. Same. Which was cool. It was really cool. It was really interesting for me. To see all that.
I got wasted. I was so intimidated.
You weren't that bad. But yeah. So it was cool. They were really cool. So
they were really cool.
That was the first touch. And then Brad's telling us to move to Vegas and shit. And this is when we had already been considering it for a while.
Yeah.
But we had
already been house hunting.
We were definitely house hunting already, but it was just another reminder of like, hey dude, there's even more like grass on the other, on the other side. So, yeah, then we, I really guess just after that, I have to fast forward to we moved to Vegas and you kind of start to go play. Before we moved to Vegas.
Oh, the app.
The app. Yeah. You get it.
So our real estate agent, so we're looking for a house in Vegas, right? So I call our realtor in LA and I'm asking him about how much he thinks we could sell our condo for and like, what that kind of looks like. We had never sold a house before, and so I wanted him to walk me through it. He comes over with his whole game plan of like selling the house, and the first time we had gone to Commerce, we ran into him there.
Yes, we saw him there.
I forgot that part.
And
so
he had helped us buy our house.
Yeah, he helped us buy our house back in 2018, and we keep in touch.
And
like
we love him. We love him.
He's great. He's the best.
Great.
He helped me, or he'll send like Christmas cards
He's
with
the best.
Starbucks. He's the best. Raph, shout out to you.
Yeah.
And so we saw him at Commerce, and we were talking for a little bit. He really likes PLO. He's like it's Pot Limit Omaha. Okay. It's way more adrenaline. It's more like tournaments. No, it's not. I don't know. I don't play PLO, so I'm gonna botch this. But fair. I find that people that like tournaments like PLO as a cash game better than like regular No Limit. Okay. I think because there's just so much more variance in PLO. So he likes that gambling type of vibe. Yes. Anyway, so he comes a couple months later. We're gonna sell our house, and he comes over, and he's like, hey, by the way, like, you going to Commerce a lot? Because he's been seeing my stories. I've been posting on Instagram stories. He's like, I have a group that we play online. Like, we play on this app. I can get you in. It's like, I don't know, 100 people, but only like 9 people play at a time. It's just one table. But yeah, it's just like a bunch of buddies. In the pandemic, we got together. We used to play at Commerce, and now we play on this app. And I was like, hell yeah. So it's okay to play online in California if it's a private party. So if you go to a friend's house and you play for real money, as long as you're not playing for hundreds of thousands of dollars or something that like would deserve an audit, it's okay. Like if you're playing for a couple $100, like that is perfectly legal as long as the house isn't taking a rake.
Got it.
So there's loopholes like that. And in the pandemic, people were using apps because they're technically private parties that you're just playing online. It's a private group of people. It's not open to the public. And so like the person hosting it and all that stuff.
Got it.
So yeah, we're playing.
And the way that you're playing this game is different than what you're experiencing at the Commerce or even at the Hustler. Like you're seeing a lot of different kind of variants.
Yeah, well, you're playing 4 times as many hands an hour than you are live because online is just so much faster. There's a time limit involved. There's no waiting for shuffling or waiting for the dealer. So
you can't see people. You can't see what they're doing.
So that's another element. But yeah, so not only are you seeing 4 times as many cards, so there's going to be natural, like way more variance that you're going to see. But you also can't make live reads. So I can't, use as much intuitive like feeling people, but I can tell by their bet sizes what kind of hands they're representing, and that's about all the information you have to go off, and how often the frequencies, how often are they opening a hand, how often are they raising, how often are they doing all that stuff. If they're not doing it often, they're a very tight player. I'm gonna respect their hands a lot more. If they're doing it a lot, I'm just gonna start raising them a lot. Yeah, it's just,
and we're going to talk about how that helped to inform the rest of her game down the road when we come back from this little break. So please buy whatever we tell you to buy.
And go gamble. No gamble, no future.
Hey, go gambling.
Go gambling.
Let's go gambling.
All gambling. It's all the same.
Hooray.
Do you like to eat?
Yes.
Do you like your meals when you're hungry or like an hour later because it takes so long to cook?
When I'm hungry.
Yes, me too. Oh my gosh, we're so compatible.
We're very similar.
If you are not a cook that can make things very quickly on your own, maybe you can use the help of Green Chef. I certainly need it. The Green Chef has so many different recipes for a variety of diets, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or you're just looking to eat more balanced meals. Green Chef offers a range of recipes to suit your preferences.
They have seasonal produce, premium proteins, organic ingredients you can trust. They're the #1 meal kit for eating well.
And you get access to unique farm-fresh ingredients like figs, dates, artichokes, plus sustainably sourced seafood. Oh my gosh, I freaking love dates.
I know you do. You're so weird.
And figs, actually.
I like dates too. They're
Have
good.
you ever had a tiger fig?
I have not.
Holy moly, those are so good.
But these are time-saving recipes, right? They're packed with fresh produce. They have vibrant flavors.
And they're chef-inspired. So Green Chef offers 24 always-changing recipes to choose from every week so that you never get bored. It's never like, oh, we're eating the same thing again. No, you got some chefs in the kitchen coming up with recipes so you don't have to worry your pretty little brain. They do it for you, and then you just make it. They send you the produce, the very fresh produce. They send you all the instructions, and it's very easy to follow. And I feel like a 5-star chef at home.
Including, by the way, things that I wouldn't even think to make, like Italian beef stuffed peppers.
Like sesame ginger tofu.
Like, I just wouldn't sit there and go, I'm going to make the meal this way.
Right?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I
It's
like the creativity.
You go to a restaurant and you're like, ooh, that looks good. And then you are making it, but you're like, how am I making this? This is crazy.
And then when you're eating it, you're like, it's like I ordered it.
Yep. So go to greenchef.com/STDTY130 and use code STDTY130 to get $130 off plus free shipping. That's greenchef.com/STDTY130 and use code STDTY130 to get $130 off plus free shipping.
Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well.
Okay, next I want to talk about Athletic Greens. Shout out to our sponsor, Athletic Greens. I didn't even know about this company, and I have been using them legit every day, and I have noticed a difference in my mental clarity. I don't know what they put in there, what kind of vitamins, what kind of antioxidants. Well, actually, I do know because they told me right here. But
they have over 75 high-quality vitamins. In fact, vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens.
Yeah, I feel the adaptogens. I'm adapting to everything around me now. Like I feel like I have superpowers. I like have so many vitamins in me, and it feels amazing that just something so natural and clean can do that for you. Like I thought that only like energy drinks and coffee could do that for me, but apparently all you need is vitamins.
What made you start taking it?
I started taking it because I wanted more mental clarity for my poker game. It really helps to be focused and thinking clearly. And sometimes if I have caffeine to do that, I experience a crash in the middle of my game, and then it achieves the opposite effect that I was going for. But with Athletic Greens, you take a little scoopy, and they give you it's really cute. What we call it, the little can that they send you is really cute. And you take a little scoopy and you put it into your water bottle that they also send. It's about 8 to 10 ounces of water, and you shake it up, and it's all green, and it looks like, honestly, the bottom of a swamp, and you're like, this must be healthy because it looks like that. Yeah. And then you drink it. It's like surprisingly really good tasting, kind of sweet, but not too sweet. And that's it. And then you drink some water with that, stay hydrated, and boom, you're good to go.
Also, it contains less than 1 gram of sugar. No GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything. While it still tastes good, like Nikki says.
And it supports better sleep quality, recovery, supports mental clarity and alertness. I mean, it's the one thing with the best things. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing, which we love.
So right now it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D
and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/STDTY. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/STDTY to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
And we're back. Okay, so now you are used to a different kind of player.
So now I'm playing like 5 days a week because this was back in September-ish. After all the stuff with the meetup with Brad.
September 21.
I don't know what day exactly, but
I think so.
Okay, but yeah, I start playing a lot more because it's easy. I don't have to drive to the commerce anymore. I'm just playing from bed.
Yeah.
I have a glass of wine.
Legit.
I lay in bed with my pajamas and I'm like, it's every night at 8:30 is when the game starts, and I'm excited to play. I play for an hour or two. I was winning a lot in the beginning. So immediately like tripled my bankroll.
Yeah, but there's a type of player that I remember you bitching about a lot. Right? Where like people will just do wild ass shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck is going on? Nobody's respecting GTO.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And you're like, because you had studied such a huge part of the game,
Yeah.
and then there was a part of the game that you hadn't studied yet because you're such a cash games player.
Yeah.
So now, going into moving to Vegas, now we're living in Vegas, right? This is like December of 2021. you start to go to casinos, or like I remember, well, even when we were shopping for the house, when we were like going to sign for the house, I remember taking you to
Aria.
that sick room at the Aria.
Yeah.
Sickest poker
It's still
room
my
in
favorite.
Vegas.
It's still my favorite room.
It's the sickest.
Yeah.
It's the dopest. I want those fucking metal cards that they have on the wall.
A lot of people don't like it because they say it's too dim, but that's why I like it.
They're wrong.
Yeah, I like the low lighting.
The Wynn sucks. Everyone loves the Wynn.
Everyone loves the Wynn.
The Wynn has halogen drugstore lighting, so they can fuck off.
Yeah, but that's why people like it because they can see the cards better. That's what they say.
No.
But I get
We like
very,
environment.
Yeah,
We
I like it to
setting.
feel like a jazz lounge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I like the moody lighting. I like,
Yeah.
And like I said, I love the metallic cards. I love all of that shit.
Yeah, that experience at Aria really made me like excited.
So
to
I
play.
sat behind you for like 3.5 hours watching you play the game, which was fascinating for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Very riveting as well. I think the flop is one of the most underrated things in sports entertainment.
Yeah.
Like where there's just a lot of drama in the flop when they
Oh, yeah.
are first turning over those cards and then you actually know what your hand means.
Yeah.
There's something so interesting about that.
Well, the equity in your hand changes drastically once the flop comes out. Sometimes it changes drastically.
If you're still in.
Yeah.
Or you may be folded out because you're like, percentage wise, I don't have anything. And by the way, this is me. I'm just translating what Nikki tells me. I don't fucking know anything about poker, okay? This is her telling me what I think. Or
It's your interpretation
This is my
of-
interpretation of what you tell me.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know poker.
I love it.
Okay. But I'm just trying to go off of what I was there and you're telling me what's going on. And
Yeah.
I'm just like translating that, right? So then, yeah, you did well.
Mm-hmm.
You did really well. And you were pissing people off, which I loved.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was fun.
It was really fun.
That was really fun.
She was getting guys to go all in and just taking their fucking
I was
stack.
stacking a lot of people. And
I remember telling your father, because I saw him briefly after that.
yeah.
I was like, because at Christmas, I was like, your daughter's just fucking ripping throats out, and she's smiling while she's doing it. She's fucking ripping fucking goddamn throats
The
out.
best part is I made the ditziest comment sitting down by accident. Like, I really wasn't trying to play dumb, but
Yeah.
that was the running joke was that, like,
I
because
don't know poker.
So, yeah, because
You were saying that the whole time.
Yeah, that exactly. I was like, it's my first day.
Yeah.
Like,
That was great.
yeah, because when I sat down, one, I'm so used to like online where it just says BB, big blind is like how many big bets that you're going to put in there. And I was used to playing 3-5 at Commerce. And when I sat down at Aria, it was my first time playing 1-3.
Yeah.
And so I was confused at what the minimum bet was because it changed like what my opening bet was going to be because you do about 3 to 5 times what the minimum is to open. And so normally I was used to opening 15 at 3-5 at Commerce, but now we're playing 1-3. And so I was like, the first thing I said when I sat down was like, what is the BBs for this? And I was like,
good.
I
But
know
you
what I'm
meant it.
trying to say,
You
but
meant
it just wasn't coming out
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
sounded like the biggest.
But it was genuine. It wasn't like you're playing a move or
Totally.
anything. Yeah.
And so my first hand in was kings,
Yeah.
pocket kings. And the button raised, so the guy right before the 2 blinds, I was in the blinds, raised, and I 3-bet him, which means I raised his open.
Okay.
And he shoved all in on me. And then I called, and he had ace king, I had kings, and I stacked him. That was my first hand.
Yeah.
And so then they're like, I think you've played before. And then
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, no, it was my first time.
So
I
cute.
didn't know what the BBs were.
Yeah. You're just playing it
Yeah.
off. But yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I watched you rip throats out, and I was proud of you, and I was telling your old man about it and stuff, and it was really fun. And a lot of people, were hearing about you playing poker and stuff, and there was a lot of, I wouldn't say eye rolling, but a lot of skepticism about it.
Sure. And I wasn't really trying to talk about it very much because I
know.
I didn't want that energy.
But you were passionate about it.
It was kind of like, exactly. That
Yeah.
was what was too hard to stop talking about it because I liked that it was something completely separate from everything else I was doing. It was kind of like an escape. Like no one knew who I was. I wasn't Nikki Limo. I just like got to be a random person playing
Yeah.
a game and seeing if I play well. And
And if you listen to shit they don't tell you after dark, you guys know what happened to Nikki with poker, because like we've probably talked about it. Like we've probably been talking about it for fucking 10 months, right?
yeah.
But yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's part of our Patreon where we talk about things that are going on with us. But that's been like dominating the conversation over there because
I just
you
got
so
really
into it.
passionate about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then Nikki's is doing really well at the cash games. And like we said, I mean, you had a bad stretch for a little while.
So yeah, beginning of this year is when I hit my first downswing. It was January. I had built my bankroll up from $1,000 to a little over $5,000, which was like a kind of a cute milestone. And this was just playing with like $200 buy-ins, because at the commerce and on the app that I was playing in, it was just small buy-ins, or I thought they were regular, but I didn't know until I moved here that that's actually a pretty small buy-in for the stakes that we were playing. So, you know, it was just like, I make a couple hundred, I lose 100, you know, it was like going up and down, but I got to like $5,000, and I hit a downswing where it went all the way down to 1,200.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I'm like almost back where I started.
Right. And you're beating yourself up pretty good.
Yeah.
You're still obsessed with the game, but you're beating yourself up good.
The way people play in Vegas is way different than LA. So that was an adjustment. That was hard, because like you're talking about on the app where people play really loose, they're like wild maniacs. Well, in Las Vegas, at least the regulars play very tight. Actually, like they play very GTO here.
Yeah.
For the most part, like I try to go to the Strip more often than playing at Red Rock here in Summerlin, because at Summerlin there's a lot more locals. They play really well. At the Strip, you'll get a lot of drunkos that will, I don't know, they're at a bachelor party and they want to go play poker or whatever. So you get more people that are spewy with with their chips and their money. Yeah. But yeah, that was a huge adjustment that I had to make going on the downswing here.
Yeah, but that wasn't, you know, that was good for you. It was formative.
It was. It helped me want to get better. Yeah. Yes. And like, where are my leaks? Also, what's my mental state been like? You know, we were moving and like unpacking. Then it was the holidays. There was a lot of stressful stuff going on. Yeah. And that can really impact your mental state if you're not balanced, if you're not keeping a balance. And so since I was so obsessed with poker, it was like, you know, losing over and over again was like, I was taking it personally. Yeah. And I wasn't really happy doing other things because I was losing so hard. So I had to like readjust my mental state. There's a great book called The Mental Game of Poker by Jared Tindler, and he talks about emotional leaks and, you know, what you can do when you're, you know, on a losing streak, and like examine what you're getting mad at and like what exactly it has to do with parts of your life. It's really good it's psychology. I've mentioned that book before on the podcast, but I really didn't need to delve into it until this downswing, because it was like I had to reread the book.
But you built yourself back up.
I did, and I moved down in stakes. I wanted to build my confidence back up, so I moved down in stakes and was trying to just get my win rate back up, and that was a big confidence booster because I did do that, and then that snowballed, and then I went to another Brad Owen meetup at the end of January, and I ended up having the biggest win I had ever had, which I walked with like $2,500 in profit.
From how much?
I put 600 in, and then I walked with over $3,000, and then I went to MGM and I made another 1,000, like that same day. Yeah,
and this is all cash games.
Yeah, this is all cash games, and I ended up making. So I lost a lot of money that month in the beginning, and then I had to make double the amount to get it back up to where it was.
I remember you showing me the app too. Yeah, and like the way that you went down and then went right back up out of it was like sick.
Just like a spike.
It was a hero's journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really awesome. But then, so now we're like, you know, early first 3 months of the year, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, you start to talk to me about, you know, the way that anyone ever gets credit in the poker industry is if they win tournaments.
Yeah, like all the most known poker players, you know. I mean, high stakes cash game is kind of getting more popular now. You see, like, you know, Garrett Adelstein is like popular. Like, there's a lot of known high stakes cash games players now because of streaming. Yeah. But like for the most part, yeah, like
the industry is fundamentally swayed towards the tournaments.
The trophies, the prestige, the bracelets, the names, they are all from tournament players for sure. The Hendon Mob, which is like the IMDb of poker. Mm-hmm. You know, people check your IMDb to see if like how credible you are. Okay, they check your Hendon Mob in poker, but Hendon Mob is only live tournament wins.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that was something that I mean, let's just be very honest. Like, you were not money motivated in poker.
No.
You loved the game, and you really, really, really wanted the respect of your peers inside of the game.
Yeah.
And that's something that you repeated to me many, many times.
I wanted to be a good player.
One of the players. You wanted to be like, it's like when people say that, when they want to do stand up.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to be one of those guys.
Exactly.
It's like that.
It reminds me so much of stand up, especially being a woman in a male dominated field. I don't like that part is part of it, but I think you do get judged a lot harder in both of those industries. Like, people think that women aren't funny and can't do comedy.
It's already
and
hard.
People think that women can't play poker. And I didn't choose it because I want to go against the grain or whatever. I'm just so naturally drawn to those two things.
Yeah.
And it just happens to be very dominated by men. So it does add a little bit, because it's like, it's not just you losing at poker. Like, if a guy loses at poker, he could maybe be like, oh, whatever, I had bad luck today. But when I lose at poker, when I had a bad comedy show, it's like,
you represent all women.
It felt like people like, see, women can't play poker. It's like so stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, there's that added weight. And I just wanted to really feel like all the work that I put into it, and like really, like, I studied so much to like almost prove to myself that it's true. Like, if you study enough, and if you really learn the game, and you really practice consistently playing not only GTO but also exploitable poker, like when you can read people's exploits and adjust to the game, like, there's a lot of elements to it. I'm always working on a different element when I sit down at the table, and I'm just so fascinated with improvement and seeing progress.
And kicking your own ass when you get home.
Oh yeah,
no matter what she wins, by the way, she kicks her fucking ass when she gets home. She tells me nonstop about what she could have done better and how she could have won more, and that's why she's a fucking winner. I'm telling you, look, the people who get comfy and they win and they get comfy, they're not going to have as much wins down the road as people like Nikki who, they win, but they're mad because they could have done better. I believe that. So now you're like, you know what? I got to start learning tournaments.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to get a claim in this game, I need to win tournaments.
Yeah, and it's not even like about like I want my name on a wall. It's like, it's kind of just like
respect.
And to my own self, like, to like validate, because you can get lucky and win a bunch of cash and cash games. Like, you can go on a hot streak of just like the cards went your way, and you could just get lucky, and then whatever, it doesn't mean you're good at the game. But if you can consistently like win in tournaments, and it's like there's almost like a paper trail with like the Hendon Mob thing, I think to me it would prove to me that I can play the game.
So your first experience with tournaments is fucking wild.
Yeah. Because
it's just a different game.
Totally. I didn't like it.
Right.
No.
You came home. You're fucking bitching about it.
Oh yeah.
You're like, this is not even like, what the fuck is going on?
Because cash games, I can sit down.
Yeah.
And I'm either profitable or I'm not. But usually I am. Like, I'm winning on average like 60% of the time that I'm at least 60% of the time on cash games. So I play for a couple hours. I go to the bathroom when I want to go to the bathroom. I go take a break to eat when I want to eat, or I order food to the table. It's more social too. It's like laid back, and I'm making hundreds of dollars in like a couple hours. Mm-hmm. With tournaments, you don't even make a cent until like 6 hours into it, to the money bubble. And then when you actually make the money, which is so long, you're waiting so long to make it, and then you make it, and you're making the minimum. Like, if you put in $100 for the buy-in, you maybe made $200. Like, so you walk with $200, you made $100 profit.
Yeah.
And that is so little in cash games. Like, to like sit there for 6 hours and then leave with $100, like, your hourly rate is so small. I don't know. I was very tilted by like the structure of tournaments when I started.
And this is probably March of this year.
Yes, it was March
of this year. So now Nikki won last week. Like, I mean, honestly, a week and a day ago is when you won the big WSOP.
I did.
Fourth place.
I got fourth. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, okay, that's fucking, a couple months after you started.
Yeah.
So then, you start to, and by the way, this sounds like so much more abridged than how it is. Like Nikki is every day simulating shit on her computer. She has her coach. She's like obsessed.
Yeah.
She's locked all the way into the game. So the way this truncated version that you're getting is just, we're just trying to convey all this to you in an hour, right?
I didn't even know what Steve was going to talk about, honestly. Like I was like, let's talk about poker. Let's talk about like the win that just happened. But you interview me, like you talk about whatever you want. So
yeah, no. So then, we have friends who are professional poker players.
Yes.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
And they're a couple.
Our neighbors. Oh God. I think I talked about this, how when we moved here, I was like, I hope we have neighbors that are like around our age that know how to play poker. We can have like poker nights or something.
She said this before we even knew where we were going to live.
No, exactly. I was like, that would be so fun. And then we moved here and our realtor was like, yeah, it's kind of like a retirement community. So I'm like, oh man, like I hope there's at least like one younger couple that knows how to play poker. Well, our neighbors are literally professional tournament players, which is rare.
Very
like
successful.
All the pros I know are cash players. Like that's because it's consistently profitable. They're tournament professionals and they have multiple bracelets, WSOP bracelets,
I've taken pictures with them.
WPT tournament,
pretty sweet.
Trophies. Yep. Crazy.
Love them. Very proud of them.
Love them.
But yeah, no. So that was really, it's been cool to see you come up in their game. You know what I mean? Because when I was introduced to the game, it was their game. And now it's like you're part of that whole circle now.
Yeah.
Like even just a couple weeks ago, so this is before Nikki played WSOP, we were invited to a poker house that reminded me of early YouTube.
Yeah.
It was like, when you're at a place and everyone there is all doing YouTube for a living.
Yeah.
And there's someone fish out of water who's like, you guys all do YouTube for a living? This is wild, right? And that was kind of who I was, I guess, at this poker house. Because I was like, y'all do poker for a living? That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But it was very early YouTube-ish.
Yeah.
Where everyone's super helpful,
like
friendly. Everyone wants to help each other.
Community-oriented, collaborative. In fact, I also, in March, when I started studying tournaments, also joined a cash games group, like forum. Like we go over hand histories together, like a study group.
Yeah.
Because it really, really does help to have like a community that not only you guys talk, you exchange it's kind of like therapy, like you're going through hands and stuff, but you're also, there's two professional poker players that run it. Shout out to Andrew Nemi who runs it, and he also introduced me to it when I asked him like who's the best like cash games coach.
Yeah.
And then Benton Blankman. So they both are professional poker players, and they will, if you have a hand history, like you could be at the table, I could be playing at Aria and I just did a hand and I'm not sure if I played it right, and I'm like, shit, that was such a tough spot. Like, did I do it right? Or like, because as long as I did the right move, I don't care what the result was, because that's really what it is. It's like there's variance in poker, but if you're making the right play every time, eventually it's profitable. Like if you did the same thing 1,000 times, you would profit in the long run. Right. So I want to really make sure that in those type of tight spots that I at least made the right decision. And so I could be sitting at Aria, just play the hand, and then I type it into, it's like a Facebook group, and I run them the hand history. Within like an hour, I have 5 responses. One of the 2 professionals will tell me how I played the flop, like if I played the flop right, the pre-flop action, the flop action, the turn, the river, like the whole thing. And you don't tell them the end result when I'm typing the hand history, because I don't want them to know what decision I made. It's like, what would you do?
Cool as fuck.
So then they say what they would have done, and I get to see if that's what I did or not.
Way cool.
Yeah.
Way cool.
And then like the next day I'll tell them what I actually did.
Right.
And so that's really, really helpful. I highly recommend that if you want to study the game, like get serious and you, whether a hobby or you want to like kind of be semi-pro or whatever, having a community like that is huge.
I couldn't agree more.
It's called the Hand History Lounge. I'll put a link in the description.
Love it.
Yeah.
I have the same thing in crypto. It's sort of like what you just described, except there's much more mascots getting abused in GIFs.
Yes.
But it's similar, very similar.
We have some GIFs.
And Stone Cold Steve Austin stunnering people, GIFs as well. But okay, so now you're playing tournaments, and you kind of have a breakthrough. You kind of come home, and you're like, I kind of get it now.
Yeah.
Like I get, and you related it to me by telling me about your app, where all these guys were playing fucking wild shit last, September through December.
They were all tournament players,
right?
Playing a cash
You
game.
didn't plug all that in yet.
Yeah.
You didn't understand what they were doing yet, and now you know.
I was like, why would they shove with that hand? But because now
bring it full
knowing
circle.
that they were tournament players. And shout out to Andrew Nemi, because we were playing cash games at Aria right after I busted my first live tournament. And I was just like, I just don't know if I could do it. Like this tournaments are so crazy, and I just don't know if I can handle the variance. And he said, and I quote, "Once you have your first deep run in a tournament, you'll be hooked."
Love it.
And I was like, if that ever happens. The very next week, the second live tournament I played, I won first place.
Yeah.
And I was like,
out of how many people?
That was out of 200 people.
So crazy.
I was like, and this was like one of the little practice ones I was doing, like the $100 buy-ins. It went till 2 a.m. But I was playing, people that play tournaments. That's what they do. And I see them now because every Tuesday and Thursday I was going to go practice again, and I see the same faces playing, and I understood. I understood.
You got the hunger.
I was playing way too tight for tournaments before. And that's what I was working with my coach with too, because he was like showing me the range that I should be playing from the blinds and the button. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
That is insane to me. Actually, just like blew my mind right off of my head. Like I just right out my skull because I could not believe the range.
Hey, explain.
So in cash games, you still like would play like decent hands from certain positions. Even if you're in the better positions, like you still want to have like playable hands. But in tournaments, because you're dealing with a lot, you're dealing with the blinds going up, which makes your stack depth shorter each time. And like there's a time limit on the levels that you're playing. So you have to play different hands that become a much wider range the shorter your stack gets, because you just have, odds wise, you just have less to lose by playing those hands, those marginal hands that you would never play in cash games. In cash games, your stack is very deep, very consistently, because even if you lose a couple pots, you can just add on more money. In tournaments, you can't add on more money. So you're stuck with whatever stack depth you have, and you have to work with that. And because you're already playing shorter than cash games, and you're continuously fighting with the clock about it's about to get even shorter if you don't make some moves, it really incentivizes you to play more hands and to bluff and to bluff a lot more. And now I understand why they were bluffing a lot more, because their stacks were so low, because they were buying in so low, and then they had to play a certain range from that. Yeah. I mean, you could go back and forth with whether or not you should play tighter when your stack's lower or looser, but I think that there are certain risks that are worth taking, especially if there's against certain player types. Like if you know a player is like kind of loose with their opens, then I'll just shove on them, because they can't call it. They can't call my all in with the range of hands that they've been playing. Now, of course, once in a while they'll have kings or they'll have something really good, but if they're opening a high frequency of time, I'll take the risk, if my stack is short, that they'll fold if I shove on them.
Love it.
Yeah.
So now, we're getting into WSOP territory, and you're telling me even you're like worried that maybe if you're on your cycle, it might fuck with you a little bit.
Yeah, I had a history of making very poor decisions during that time.
But you also have a history of just overthinking shit.
Yeah.
And so you'll overplan, overthink, over everything, and then yeah, right. And then usually my job is just to center you and remind you why you're great. You don't have to worry. You
know what game is great for overthinking?
What's that?
Poker.
Go figure. So
very
then,
analytical.
Yeah. So then, we're getting into WSOP territory, which is like a months long thing, right?
Yeah, it's about a little over 6 weeks, I think.
Yeah. So this thing's going from just started 2 weeks ago?
The first week of June. Yeah.
Going till July something?
Yeah, end of July.
And you're just telling me, you're like, I'm so excited about it, but I don't want to build it up in my head. I just want to go play so I can be part of it.
Yeah.
Like, and it would be you're like, it would be incredible to cash. I'm not even expecting to do that. I just want to go and get that under my belt and say, like, I played in the World Series of Poker.
Yeah. And then like maybe next year in 2023, I go for a bracelet.
Exactly. So then you go and, I'm doing Crypto Corner that day. Or, well, this is you do the qualifier day. So like.
Well, if you back it up a month before, I played like MGM was the first one where it was a 2-day because I wanted to like play a 2-day and I bagged for the first time. I was like, if I could just bag, which means making it to the second day, like you take all your chips, you put it in a zip, like a sealed bag, and it's very like, it goes into like a very like vaulted area of the casino, and then like you come back to your bag on day 2.
Yeah.
So I'd never done that before. I never experienced that. So I just wanted to bag for day 2. And that was like exciting that I got to bag. And then I ended up going to the final table and getting second in that one and cashing for a 5-figure payout.
Which was the chop day, right? It was
12 grand. Yeah.
So what happened there?
And so that's when I was like, cool, because that buys all my buy-ins for WSOP for the side events that I wanted to play.
Yeah. But what was your frustration with the chop?
Okay, so
because you were devastated because you came home with a fat bag. You came home with 5 figures.
Yeah,
I've never seen a girl more sad to win like $12,000 in my whole life.
I know, because I should have been happy. I was happy, but I was kicking myself because I really felt like if I had made final table, I had told myself I was gonna play for the win, play for the first, because that's what I'm doing it for. A lot of people are playing for the money. And I understand that, but I don't need the money. I have other income streams. I want to win. Like that's the whole point. Otherwise I play cash games. Exactly. I can be profitable in cash games. The whole point of studying tournaments was to go for the win. And so I was disappointed in myself for not going for the win, but there was several factors in that. So when it comes down to, a few people left in a tournament, most likely someone is going to suggest a chop at some point. That's pretty normal because it guarantees everybody a higher payout except for the first place person. And if you don't have an edge on the other people, if you think they're all pretty good, then you're probably better off taking the chop money wise. Yeah,
because variance could just kill you anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Because the blinds are already so high that it's anyone's game. Like at any point, the stacks are going to shift from who's chip leader and who's not. So even though I entered final table as chip leader by a landslide, by the way, not to brag, actually the guy that ended up winning, he was down to 1 chip. And he was like cool with it. He's shout out to Mike. Cool. Shout out to Michael. Cool. I freaking love him. I met him during this tournament. But he's actually awesome. Mutually friends with our neighbors next door because he's the manager at Americana, Steve and I's favorite restaurant.
Yeah, we love it.
So he was down to 1 chip. He's like, I actually have to close this restaurant. I don't care. I'm going all in without looking. Because Evie tells you that you when you're down to 1 chip, you just have to go all in without looking. Like it doesn't matter what 2 cards you have. There's nothing that should make you fold. Yeah. So he goes all in and he ends up winning that hand. And he doubles his little stack and then he just shoves every hand and he's winning and winning and winning. And he ends up like coming up with a decent stack. And I think he's in like, still in last place when it gets down to 5 players, but 2 people got eliminated ahead of him when he was like that short of a stack. So it was pretty cool. He was stoked. And someone offered a chop, suggested a chop. And at that point I was in first place. So because I want the title, I was like, you know what? I do want to fight to win and feel like I earned it. Yeah. But I also, if I take the chop, we're all guaranteed 5 figures and I get the title and you also get a free seat to the Tournament of Champions, which like you can't buy into that tournament. So $200,000 guarantee and you can only get it by winning one of their other tournaments. So that's pretty cool. I also found out later you get a trophy, which I didn't know about. But anyway.
Would have been your first.
Yeah. I have not won a trophy.
In life.
I did win our Fantasy Football League trophy, but I don't feel like that counts because I haven't received it yet.
That's a good point. You did just win that, though.
I did win that.
And you did get a pretty sick ring from me, but go ahead.
Okay. So someone offered a chop. And the way you do an ICM chop is you take however many chips are left in your stack and you kind of like take how much money is left in the prize pool that would have been distributed the way that it had it if everyone played. And you put it all together and then you just redistribute it based on everyone's chip sizes, their stack sizes. And then it's a more like fair,
Equitable.
equal, payout. I mean, the first place person takes a hit, but you might not even cash first if you continued playing.
Exactly.
So it's like you're guaranteed X amount of money. And so everybody wanted it, and they had to talk me into it actually, because I really wanted to play for the win, but I was like, well, I would just take the win now.
Yeah.
And so we all were in agreement, and then the tournament director comes over and goes, oh, and you get a free seat to the Tournament of Champions, kind of as an aside. And a guy at the table didn't know that, and he's something like flipped in him. He's like, wait, you get a free seat to the Tournament of Champions? And he's like, yeah, it was like part of it, like only tournament winners get a seat there. And so he changes his vote.
Fuck.
It's anonymous, but everybody knows who changed their vote. Okay, so
Because he asked the question.
yeah, and he was like, his eyes lit up, he was just so fucking stoked. So then we have to keep playing because it has to be unanimous, or else you can't chop. Unanimous.
Yes.
Sorry, anonymous and unanimous.
You're fine.
Anyway, so we keep playing, and within 2 hands, that guy busts.
So funny.
By the guy that was short stacked.
So funny.
And so he's out. Like, so
Fire boy Michael, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Michael did the most damage, and then he was down because that guy covered him. So that guy was down to like
brutal,
a little bitty stack, and then he had to shove like the next hand, and then
Mundo.
Yeah, he was gone. So that guy's out now. Everyone's like, all right, revote.
Yeah.
And now there's 4 players. We all like went up a couple thousand. Now that guy lost $6,000 by making that move. Yeah. So then we do a revote, but now I'm in second. And my boy Michael's in first, and he's like so chill. He's like, yo, I don't even care about this title. I'm just so stoked to like have more money, you know?
Sure.
And he's like, what if, cause now I'm like, I kind of want to play for the win. I'm going to go in second. So he's like, what if I gave her the title? Like, is that cool? Like, can she just have the title? And they're like, no, whoever has the most chips gets the title.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So he goes, okay, what if I gave her some chips?
Yeah.
And they're like, that's collusion.
Yeah.
So no, you can't do that. Like, okay, what if we played a few more hands and she happened to win them, and then we revoted, and the other players were like, I'm not down for a revote. This voting stuff has already been too crazy. Fair. Blah, blah, blah. I just don't want to revote. It's too traumatizing. So they had all been talking mad shit about that guy that changed the vote. And I was also happy that my friend was, and by the way, he couldn't even make it to the Tournament of Champions. So he's like, can she at least play for me at the Tournament of Champions?
Do the work.
And they're like, no. So
Yikes.
like, yeah. So his seat is just going to be empty, and they're just going to blind it out. I know, right? Doesn't that suck? So I had to make a decision right then and there. They were counting down the clock. I was really like in the tank for a while on this decision because I really wanted to play for first. But I didn't have a chip lead, and like I didn't even know if I had an edge, because this was my first time in a 2-day tournament. I hadn't played with these guys yet. I'd only played with Michael because he was on my day 1 table, but the other people I hadn't even played with yet in the entire tournament. So I didn't know how they played, and I didn't know if they were better than me. And so,
but
I agreed to the chop.
Yeah.
And also, that was the other thing. If I didn't agree to the chop and I ended up playing for the win and I was the next one to bust, it would cost me $6,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could use that money to do the buy-ins for the WSOP, which is what I really wanted to play. And then I don't have to worry about playing at the WSOP. It doesn't take a hit to my bankroll. I'm just playing off this money that I won, and I get some extra money too. And so because it was by far the biggest cash I had ever received, cash games, tournaments, whatever. I'd already won several tournaments at this point, but they were all for like $3,000 or less. So yeah, I voted yes for the chop, and
you beat yourself up after it nonstop.
I wondered like if I could have won. And if I would have been able to play in the Tournament of Champions, or like get a trophy, or like whatever, and like just really stamp my name on something and be like, I played for the win and I fucking did it, you know? And that way, even if I lost, I would know that I tried, like that I played my heart out till the end.
So let's fast forward, because we're way over time right now.
Yeah.
But so now you're going to the World Series of Poker.
Yeah.
You're in there. I remember dropping you off, and you're like, I'm just so excited. And then you came home that day and you're like, I'm in the next like round robin basically.
Yeah.
Which meant that you were moving on, which meant that you were guaranteed
Day two.
Yeah.
So I was in the money.
Yep.
And then I also started day 2 with a pretty good stack size.
Yeah. So then, that's when that day was very insane because like I remember just you left, I dropped you off in the morning, and then you're gone all day. I'm doing Crypto Corner at night, and then all of a sudden everyone's telling me like, "Hey, Nikki's like fucking killing it," and I had been paying attention because I had the World Series of Poker thing like windowed so I could see it during it
Because they were doing news updates.
They were doing news updates.
Yeah.
And like 10 minutes before I start Crypto Corner with my brother Kenny, I'm like telling Kenny, like we usually talk to each other a little bit before we start the show. And I was like, yo, dude, it's a fucking crazy night. Like Nikki's like far along. Like I just got off the phone with her like fucking 90 seconds before I talked to Kenny, I talked to you. And I was like, she's like in. She's like really far in.
Yeah.
And I was like, I might have to just go in the middle of the show because she's just crushing it so hard. And he's like, holy shit. And I'm like, yeah, dude. So then, we're kind of watching this during the show. And then I was telling all the corners about it. And then everyone, like the whole show just becomes eventually about how you're moving on to final table. And everyone's just like, and I was like, well, I want to get to everyone's questions. Like, get the fuck out of here, Steve. Like, fucking go. So then I call our neighbor, Chris.
Yeah.
He was like the poker god.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, dude. I was like, he immediately picks up too. Like I call him, he immediately picks up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, dude, this is pretty crazy. He's like, this is fucking crazy. And I'm like, we should go down there, huh? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, good to know. I was like, give me 20. I'm going to lock out with my crypto people. And then at the 20-minute mark, he's ringing the doorbell. So then we take a lift down there, and I'm standing there, and you didn't even know I was showing up.
No, I didn't know you were even there until I did some hand, and I shoved on someone, and they tanked for a long time, and then they eventually folded, and I won. So I won the hand because they raised me on it, and then I hear cheering in the back, and I turn around and like you're there, and Andrew Nemi, and all the people from my a lot of people from Chris,
Jesse.
and my poker coach Jesse, and then all the people from the hand history lounge. That was the biggest reward, was like seeing like people that I had met along the way, like they're cheering at a final table at the WSOP. Like,
Crazy.
What?
But I have to say that you spoiled me so much. I just didn't realize, like, I knew this was a big deal because like that had been now hammered in my head by the time I was on my way down there. Before this, you had final tabled so many times and you'd done so well in such a short amount of time that I was like, this is pretty cool. But
pretty
like,
normal.
Yeah, but like, do I have to leave? Like, Nikki would probably appreciate it if I like answered everyone's questions and like did the show the right way. And then halfway through, everyone's like, "Get the fuck out of here, bro!" So shout out to the corners. You guys are the best.
Yeah, you guys are the best.
No, really, they were the best because I didn't even know that I had permission to leave because I'm such a fucking guilty Catholic.
Yeah,
but it was great. So then, the best part though. So like from my perspective, because like I'm there and Mormon knows what's going on and like Jesse knows what's going on. And like all these, people from your hand history, they all know what the fuck's going on. I have no idea what's happening.
You're the only one that doesn't understand poker. Yeah.
There's shit going on, and like there's hands dropping, and all these cats are like turning to each other, and they're speaking in the same code that you talk in. And I'm like, God damn, I don't know what the fuck they're saying. I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck's going on. I'm like, did she do good? And I'm turning to Chris. I'm like, did she do good? He's like, yeah, that was good. He's like, yeah, she shoved that guy out. Yeah, that's good. And I was like, yeah, it's good. Fuck yeah, it's good. But like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Because I actually, thanks to you, know more about the under the hood stuff about poker, like the strategies that you're trying to do. Like you're trying to like beat people up because if you're short stacked, you're trying to beat people up because you're trying to reconstitute your stack because it's all about how many blinds you have in a tournament.
Yeah.
I know more about that than I know about. Okay, on the river, she has this and they have that, and I'm like, oh, I don't fucking know. Like you spend more time talking to me about the game, not the hands.
Yeah.
So like that's what I'm most used to from like a year of even just hearing you like mom bird spit into my mouth about this stuff. But dude, yeah. So And I'm keeping track, and all the corners are keeping track. Everyone's like, everyone in.
Yeah, and shout out to Poker News. They do a great job of like being
dude.
really real time updates.
It was great. But everyone's rooting for you like mad, right? It was great. And then, my family's all going crazy and in family chat. And then you bust out at 4th.
Yeah. Well, the guy that busted out in 5th, that was the last place that was under $100,000 prize.
Right.
So, and he had more chips than me going into the final table.
Crazy.
So the fact that I made it to the 6-figure mark was like, yes, like that was. If it's not if it's not going to be the bracelet, at least like that was like a marker.
$600 buy-in, you cashed out
as a watermark.
$116,000.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It was actually 116,600. So like minus the 600 was exactly 116,000.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, so proud of you. Everyone's so proud of you. Your father calls you. He tells you he's proud of you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You cried. I mean, you cried probably a lot of times.
I cried calling you when I was like, when it was down to final 3 tables or something like that, final 2 tables.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we went on a dinner break at like final 2 tables, and I was like, there's a really solid chance I'm going to final table because I was second in chips by like a landslide. Like it was the first place and then me like kind of neck and neck, and then a large gap in chip stack, and then like the 3rd place person and on.
Wild.
Yeah.
And what a 24 hours. Like, it's just such a weird thing where, like, I remember going to the bar afterward with Nimi and Chris and Jesse and everybody, all from your hand history guys, all these great people. And we're all just there to celebrate you and like all the work that you put in. And even then, I hope that people understand the work that Nikki put in is even more than you even think. So hopefully, this episode went long, but you guys don't even understand the amount of times that I say good morning to this chick or good night to this chick or like good afternoon to this chick. And she is working on her poker theory in some fucking program. And she's like, I have to do 10,000 hands before I can leave. I have to do 10,000 hands on this program.
Not 10,000.
Or whatever it is. 1,000 hands, whatever it is. Because you can flip through them quickly because it's an AI thing. But like, she's such a psycho. I'm so proud of her. I'm also the least surprised person in the room. I knew you would do this. I knew you would blow everyone away. I didn't know you would do this soon. I knew you'd blow everyone away. And just so proud of you, man.
Thank you.
It's crazy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's hard for me to process. I mean, like you said, like the first thing I thought afterwards was like, right before the final table, I was second in chips by a landslide, and all I had to do was fold until the final table, and I fucking couldn't do it. And then I damaged my stack, which put me in a position where I couldn't get to heads up, or like there was less of a chance. And I feel like I could have gotten the bracelet, or I feel like I could have like had a better chance at it. And my coach was like, that's silly. Don't think about that. But
dude, this is Nikki. I can't
help it.
This is Nikki. We have $116,000 in cash in our laps. And this is Nikki fucking bitching about the hand.
I'm not bitching. I'm mad at myself. I'm beating myself up. Yeah, because I didn't have.
Beating yourself up about it.
I overplayed ace jack offsuit. It's like the stupidest hand.
There, you admitted it.
It's the hand that everybody is like, don't overplay ace jack offsuit.
Yeah.
And I fucking did. Yeah. Okay.
If you only folded.
And I wrecked half of my stack basically.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why obviously, like, you're great at what you do because even in victory, you know where you fucked up. Yeah. And you can't wait to do better. I think that kind of tenacity, that kind of wherewithal and understanding of your game, or trying to perfect your game even still, when most people would just lay back and relax and fucking chill. I think that's why you're a champion. So congrats.
Thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate that. And thank you everybody that like was like supporting through I was not expecting that at all.
Sticky Studios, you guys are incredible.
And one of the first things my coach said too was like, hey, when people get a big win like this, like usually they get kind of like cocky and they start getting like buying into all these like higher stake events. And I was like, yo, I'm like the opposite. I'm kind of like, I fucked up here and I needed to grind way more low stakes before I feel like I can, like I've perfected it enough to like take a risk at a higher stake. And I'm really humbled by this game. this game will constantly keep you on your toes. Like, I didn't play live for a week, and I just played live again yesterday, and I busted within an hour. Yeah. And I was like, well, I needed that to get that out of the way.
I heard the garage door open, and I was like, she's back already? Holy fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, I just said bye to her.
Yeah. I was like, I was dreading it. Yeah. I was just dreading playing live again because it's like, I have the opposite thing. I don't get overcome. I get like, oh no, we're back at the beginning, and I don't know if I could do it all again. Yeah. And so I am overthinking everything. And so I just needed to get that out of the way, like that loss out of the way.
That's fair. Before you play this week.
Yeah, this week I have like probably my biggest buy-in that I've ever played. By the way, I should have mentioned this earlier, but I am working with Stake Kings because after that win, they reached out to me, and it's a really great company. My coach is actually really supports them. Anyway, you can get involved because people were like, are you going to play the main now? The main is $10,000 to buy in. They're like, you have to play the main. Like, you won so much money. You have to play the main. You have to play the main. And I'm like, that seems so intimidating to me. It's like a multiple day tournament. I've never played that many days. I've never played that big of a buy-in. That's a huge buy-in for like someone that has never played over $1,000 buy-in to go into
tournaments in March.
Yeah. And I am playing a few $1,000 and up buy-ins between then. I'm playing the ladies that's $1,000, and I'm playing a $1,500 one this Friday. It's a Millionaire Maker one. But yeah, I have not yet played that like anywhere close to that high of a buy-in. But I hear it's like a once in a lifetime experience, and right now I'm bankrolled for it. And so I'm working with Stake Kings. If you want to buy a piece of the action, you can basically make like a sports bet on me. Mm-hmm. Through this company, you can buy a percentage of the buy-in. So it's $10,000 to buy in. Let's say you want 1%. So you put $100 in, and whatever I win, you get that percentage of the winnings. So if I win $1,000, you get $10.
Yeah.
If I win, you're not just going to win $1,000 in the main event. If I do cash, the min cash is $15,000. I think $15,000. If you're walking with $15,000, so like on top of the 10. Yeah. So, so you can buy a piece. Cool. I'm selling up to 50%. So I'm willing to buy in for $5,000 because I think that's a great deal for that type of experience. I'm just excited to even be there and see if I can like play for that long. I've never played for that long, that many days in a row. Are you kidding me? So I just am excited again once to just be there. And if I'm selling up to 50%. So whoever wants to buy, you could buy in. If I win, you win. If I lose, you lose.
No pressure. You do whatever you want.
If you want, you could have someone to root for in the game. I'm actually going to buy some action off of like some of the other players too. So it feels like
you're supporting a community.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's probably been the biggest win, like the long-term win. It has been the community. I'm like I can't tell you how happy I am, and I hope this feeling lasts. That like, because with YouTube, it's like it changed and sad, but it used to be much more of vipers. Yeah,
everyone's like out for themselves. But right now,
it's like this cute, pure, innocent little like such a good community, and even people I had just met at America's Card Room does this place called Punter's Pad where they host out of town poker players, and they all stay in the same house, and they're big pros, and they all have names and stuff, and titles. And I got introduced by my neighbors, Katie and Chris, and I helped do one of their shows for YouTube and shouted them out on my Instagram and all that stuff. And they were so freaking supportive. Yeah. When they found out I final tabled, they were following my Instagram stories. They ran over and they were at the rails. So cool. And I had just met them 2 days before then.
At the house party thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
So fucking nice.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Shout out to Ebony and Camille. Oh my gosh. Like,
that was the coolest thing too, is seeing, because everyone who was at that poker house treated us exactly the same as after you final table. Yeah. Like it was nobody was any different.
They're so sweet.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So, feel very lucky to be part of this ride because, like I said, it's one of the funniest things I've been part of.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, I'm so proud of you, kid, as always.
Thank you. Yeah, You're my biggest win. You're my poker bracelet.
You are.
Wish I could wear you on my wrist.
You're always up to something. That's the best thing about my sitcom wife. You're always up to something. I can't wait to see what you're doing this time next year.
I was looking at baby grand pianos. I'm gonna be a pianist.
I know. You probably will be.
A concert pianist.
I can't wait for you to be in John Williams' fucking band. Be sick.
I think these types of things build an enriching life.
I do too. I think it makes life more entertaining.
Funny. Yeah.
Anyway.
I love it.
Thank you guys so much for listening and for watching. An
extra long one.
Yeah. And check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/sticky.
STIKKI.
And we do all kinds of stuff on there. Super fun stuff. Live streams. I do my Crypto Corner show. Nikki is going to probably start talking about poker on there pretty soon.
Well, we've been playing poker tournaments I do a free roll tournament.
Yeah.
And top three cash prizes.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll see you on there.
Yeah.
And goodbye.
Goodbye.